This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Hello and welcome back to Party Loaded. It is Party Loaded, the video gaming podcast for Wednesday, the 17th of April, 2019. My name is Luke Retallick, and bringing you the show tonight, I am joined by the trio of gentlemen. We have Matt Game Dad Diet, Adrian Chia, and Christian Paulson Brown. G'day, gang. We're here to save video games. We're the saviors. We're bringing it all back. We're going to
screw that. I'm out.
Yeah, I didn't sign up for this. I'm going to destroy video games.
It's too much responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm cancelling games.
Or video games here to save us? That's the question. I don't know. We know of at least one video game that's trying to save things this week. So did you guys see the story about apparently the burning of the Cathedral of Notre Dame? They're going to try and recreate the thing from looking at Assassin's Creed footage?
Yeah. I'm sure that's just being trumped up, and I doubt that's actually being used to any significant degree.
Yeah.
I bet it'll be the one good thing Assassin's Creed Unity achieved.
Yes.
I like that game.
I said to Adrian before, they probably burned the wrong cathedral if that's the case. But yeah, I don't know. It's super sad. It's super sad seeing art go down like that. But yeah, I mean, it's funny watching all of the footage of that going on. I was instantly reminded of all of our conversation last week about the video game preservation and thinking, it's only worthwhile when everybody can enjoy it, So that's all right. We have a packed show tonight of stuff that everybody can enjoy. And we're going to kick it off by jumping into what we do every week, which is This Week in Gaming. So now I don't think Matt's kicked us off for a little while. So why don't we start with you tonight, man? What's been going on this week in your rounds? What are you playing?
Well, I played some more Vampire the Masquerade on stream last week, which was fun. I got to the city in the game, and I just... playing through that thing, there was a couple of people that were watching and were commenting on how good the writing was. And it really is so well written. It's probably the best part about that game, especially playing a Malkavian. And the game really gives you opportunities. Like, there's nothing about the Malkavian when you first create one. Because the whole thing with Malkavian is that they're insane, basically. And your dialogue options are equally as insane. And so, you know how there's that frustrating thing in a lot of RPGs where you choose a dialogue option and then your character says something, you're like, that's not what I wanted to say.
Mass Effect is a real one in that sort of category that is a prime offender, I would say.
Yeah. But the Malkavian doesn't know what he's saying because he's insane. And so that actually works for it. There's a degree of that there actually works. But you also, like, what you read on screen is what your character says. But whether or not the person on the other end interprets it the way you did is the question. But the writing in that insanity is actually really good. And it leads to some really, really great moments where it turns out that through your insanity, you've actually predicted an event that's going to happen and you've stated it to this character, or you've guessed what their name is with some little rhyme that has just completely creeped out the other person. And it makes you feel just so cool. Like, you're like, oh, that's what I was saying. Oh, okay.
That sounds a lot more interesting than just multiple choice Tourette's.
Yes. But the game is so well written. It's really, really good. It's also surprisingly creepy even today. I got through the hotel section, which is basically this haunted hotel. And I remember as a kid when I played this game, I was creeped out by that. But I didn't remember being creeped out by the ship. And I played the ship section, and I'm like, wow, this is actually surprisingly creepy. It's filled with police officers and everything, but you're basically given the objective to get through it without killing anyone. And you're trying to do that. It's like, oh my god, this is all these people just around the corner here. And then you get to the sarcophagus that they've sent you out to find, which apparently had a super old vampire in it. And it's broken open. There's blood everywhere, and it just adds this whole kind of creepy factor about this boat that makes you kind of feel like you're going to get jump scared on the way out as well. But yeah, other than all that, like the combat in it holds up to this day, I reckon. Like there's some weirdness in how it works, but if they were to polish that up with some like modern day like gaming mechanics, it would be just absolutely brilliant. Like I really do think if at E3 this year we were to get an announcement that Vampire the Masquerade got a remaster, I would not be surprised.
Oh, okay.
That would be really awesome. And I would not be surprised.
Because you're playing a modded version at the moment to sort of remaster it a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah. So the mod that I have is just a unofficial patch. Like I haven't done any sort of graphical mods or anything like that. The graphics actually still hold up really, really well as well. But no, the unofficial patch adds in some content that was removed, and just fixes a whole bunch of bugs and adds the ability to actually play it at 1080p. Which I could not when the game was launching otherwise. Like, widescreens apparently did not exist when the game came out, so...
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I had the day off today, so I was playing a bit of Destiny 2's Revelry event, which is just launched today. It's a 3-week-long event. It's all spring-themed. I landed into the tower and had a look around. Just, like, the moment you get into the tower right now, it's like, holy crap, this is beautiful. It feels very un-Destiny-like, almost, just how gorgeous the tower is decorated right now. Eva Levante, who's a character from Destiny 1 that hasn't reappeared in Destiny 2, is actually around now. I think she might have been around for the Christmas event, but she's around for this as well. And it's all, basically, you get sent into the Infinite Forest, which now has a spring theme. Infinite Forest is basically this zone in the game that will just randomly generate chunks. And your objective is to clear as many of them as possible before getting to the end. Yes, not meaty chunks, thankfully. But yeah, no, you're just going clearing stuff. You get armor and everything. It's a 3-week-long event, so there's a bit more substance to it than, say, like Iron Banner. But it's still like not a major DLC or anything like that. It's just a fun event to mix up stuff. And I have to admit, like, this whole gameplay method with Destiny is really good. Like, They've got this whole thing at the moment with Xur where you can buy like a token and you complete the objectives on the token and you can turn it in and you get a chunk of story every week. And it's really interesting. Like last week's chunk of story was super meta, but also really fascinating from a story perspective. But then the events just add on to that and just give you extra reason to log on because it's something brand new. Like last week was Arc Week and it was just a one-off event just as a refresher for all these old Arc-based classes. But it was also tons of fun. Like, there was a whole bunch of little, Arc Week-only stuff that you could get access to. I have been spending money on Destiny again on the extra content and shit, which is really nice. Like, it's actually really, really fun to just have this game that I can go and just relax with. Yeah, it's really good. I'm going to work on getting the exotic that they've released. It's like this crossbow-themed fusion rifle. It looks really interesting.
Oh, nice. So this story content that they're sort of gating behind the weekly Xur stuff, is that delivered in terms of text or is it actually played out somehow?
It's cutscenes. Like, it's actually in-game cutscenes.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's way better than I was expecting. That's cool.
No, it's... So they started off Season of the Drifter with the whole choosing the sides thing, and I think that's still playing out. But there seems to be an ongoing theme. This might be a spoiler for people, but this is a prediction, so if I spoil it for anybody, I apologize. I don't know. I'm just predicting. But there seems to be this overarching theme about choice, and your character as the player being the only one in the world that actually has the option of choosing how things play out, which plays really strongly into the whole choosing the Vanguard or choosing the Drifter decision at the start of the season. So I think that there is an ongoing thing about our Guardian having being somehow special in this world. But yeah, like the story content is always the emissary of the Nine talking with this disembodied voice who we assume is the Nine and talking about a character. So last week they were talking about the player character, but in the weeks beforehand they've talked about the Drifter and they've talked about Mara Sov, the Queen. And it's been really, really interesting because it's giving us insight into events that are taking place at the moment with characters and their motivations, because the Nine are just kind of like... the theory is that the Nine are dark space, basically. Like, they're dark matter. so they can just touch everything and they understand everything that's going on. But yeah, it's super interesting story content, and has continued to give you motivation to play, which is super neat. So
yeah. Well, the fact that it's actually cutscenes fills me with a lot more promise. It kind of seems to me a little bit like why you would work towards like alternate endings in a more sort of linear story based game, because you often do it to see extra cutscenes, extra story content. So you go to the extra effort. So yeah, the fact that it's in a living game is a different spin. So
I had mentioned it when we were talking about our games as a service episode, but I think that what Bungie are doing with the story drops is really unique. I've not actually heard of any other games doing that. But it's made the Destiny story feel alive and like it's still progressing rather than just kind of coming to a standstill because we're in a new season and, you know, you got all your Drifter and Vanguard story shit, but now you're done. But that's not happened. You've gotten that stuff, but you didn't get the ending you expected, and now it's kind of constantly dropping new little snippets that suggest it as to where things are going.
In terms of developer sort of resource and time when it comes to adding content to a live service game, I think, you know, doing content, story-based content like that, like extra cutscenes and things, it seems a little risky to me because the amount of time and effort that must go into developing a cutscene that, for all intents and purposes is over in 20, 30 seconds and, you know, isn't repeatable, I think it is a real tough call to make instead of actually putting content in or sort of, you know, progression related stuff that takes people a lot longer to get through. But, I mean, you know, hats off for them doing it because I think, you know, finding the balance where they have some of that stuff as well as the other repeatable content is a good thing to have. So,
yeah. Like the last season, there was a bunch of cutscenes that played out with the Queen that people no longer have access to. So if you didn't actually see them, the only way to see them now is finding a YouTube video. And that's actually kind of exciting because it's like, I have to get on Destiny if I want to see this stuff play out. Yeah.
Or hop on YouTube, I guess.
Yes. In a way. That's less fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But easier.
Yes.
But easier.
Yeah. I must admit, like, it was kind of ruined for me, like, games. I think Arkham Knight was the first one that this really sort of hit home for me with. Like, that I didn't have to play through all the different challenges in those games to see all the story bits anymore. I could just YouTube it. As soon as I realized that, I was just like, oh, that kind of makes me sad. But also happy at the same time. But I don't know. All right. Well, who else wants to jump in? Any other takers for action this week besides Warframe?
Then no. I've mainly just been playing a little bit more of the Borderlands pre-sequel, but the only addition I guess I would say to that is I actually started playing it with my brother-in-law. So he and I caught up at a family event, and I mentioned that I was dipping into Borderlands, and he mentioned that he'd just picked up a gaming PC but hadn't yet played online with anyone. So we set up a little evening date together, and we played some of the pre-sequel, and that was good. So I'm enjoying sort of dipping into that in a multiplayer fashion because I haven't experienced that before. So. But we haven't done tons of content, just, you know, a couple of hours here and there.
So I know one of the features coming in Borderlands 3 with regards to weapon drops and stuff in Borderlands is that like loot is instanced for each player, but my understanding is in the pre-sequel that's not the case. So did you find yourselves fighting over loot or?
No, I just let him pick up whatever he wanted. Borderlands has this system, which I don't think I've talked about before. It's called Golden Keys. I don't know if you guys know what it is.
No.
But in both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, in the main hub or town or wherever it is that you are, they have this big golden chest, and you can open the golden chest with a golden key, and the golden keys are given away by Gearbox, like to celebrate events or just randomly on their Twitter.
Oh, these aren't the shift codes, are they?
Yeah, it's a shift code, yeah. So you enter the shift code into the game, and you get between 1 and 5 golden keys. It's a set number, but like the number varies each time they release a code. And then you can use that golden key in game to get like top tier loot from the golden chest. And I guess it kind of is an interesting idea. What makes it kind of weird is that when I played through Borderlands 2, I found a website that lists every shift code released in the history of shift codes.
Oh, so they're not one-time use only things. They're like, if you have the code, you can get it.
Oh, they are, but these codes date back to like 2012, and some of them are still valid. So if you never claimed them, you can still put in the code back from 2012, and there's no expiry on some of them.
Oh, wow.
So you can get these golden keys that, you know, have been released over the past 7 years. So I found a website with every code on it, put them all into Borderlands 2 when I was playing 2, and ended up with like 240 golden keys, which is more golden keys than I think you would ever need in the lifetime of that game. And what it means is that every single time I level up, I can just spend 20 golden keys on this chest and get a whole range of top-tier loot. But it breaks the game, because it then means that no weapon that you pick up randomly is ever as good as what you've just gotten with a golden key. And the pre-sequel is the same. So I found a website for the pre-sequel that also has a whole bunch of shift codes on it, and I didn't spend the same amount of time as I did in Borderlands 2, but I put in a couple of codes, ended up with about 20 golden keys, cashed them in at the golden chest, got some wicked guns, and then I had no need to argue with my brother-in-law about which guns to pick up, because mine were always better than his. And he found that out when he tried to duel me in the game, I evaporated his character, and he's like, oh... So I don't know. It's interesting because I imagine the goal of these shift codes is like a little, it's like, oh, here, have a cool little reward once a month where you can get some cool guns. But retroactively, it breaks the game if you're playing the game like 5 years later, like I am, and you can just put in all the codes at once and get all the good guns.
Well, I guess it's kind of like, the Rage 2 cheats that we were talking about last week. I mean, it breaks the game if you choose to use them, but you as the player always have that agency, so... That's
true. Unfortunately, I have very little willpower, so I ended up having to, ration myself. I was like, okay, every time I level up, I'm going to use one golden key, and that will be my reward for leveling up. But even then, it still breaks the game, even if you sort of spread them out, because it means if you use a golden key and get a bunch of awesome guns, they carry you through for the next 2 or 3 levels, and none of the quest rewards come close to matching those guns that you've gotten from the chest. So it almost demotivates you to complete side quests because there's no rewards. And I guess you could argue that, experience the game is the reward, but we all know that's a lot of shit. So
wow. Yeah, fair enough. So would you, just conversely, I want to just explore this train of thought just a little bit further. If there was a button at the front menu of the game when you were playing it, Adrian, that said super mega easy baby mode, would you press it instead of doing the key method?
No.
Even though it's effectively the same
interesting distinction.
Yeah. I mean, the difference is that with the golden keys, you still take damage. It doesn't make you invincible. It just makes your damage output higher than average, which means to kill the enemies is not challenging, but surviving is still the same amount of difficulty, because it doesn't change the way you take damage in any way, unless you get shields from the golden chest, which does help a bit. But if you're playing on a high enough difficulty, it doesn't matter so much.
I think, doesn't killing the enemies faster mean you take less damage from them as well?
It does, but the way Borderlands plays is that you're always being attacked from every angle.
Right.
So and you can rarely, sometimes and enemies in Borderlands can shoot you from the other side of the map as long as you've aggroed them. So it's that kind of thing where you're right. Yes, you can. The best defense is a good offense. But the game it doesn't break the game to the point where you're a walking god. It just means you always have the best possible gun. And it does mean that you can potentially pick up a new gun within 5 minutes of opening a golden chest that is better than the one you've already got. That does happen. But it can go the other way as well, where you might spend hours without picking up a better gun. It's totally random. I have a feeling where these golden keys come more into play is for people that go into New Game Pluses of Borderlands.
Yeah.
Because that is an aspect of Borderlands that I haven't touched, where you replay through the game again and it jacks up the difficulty and you take significantly more damage, and the guns, the difference between the way the guns work kind of becomes more important at that later stage of playing the game. But in order to do that, you basically just have to play through the whole game again, which I had no interest in doing.
Yeah, exactly.
This whole discussion reminded me of a joke I made with a friend recently. We were talking about the fact that, there's all these journalists talking at the moment about making games easier. And there's a whole meme going around about, games should have a journalist difficulty. And I made the joke, wouldn't it be great if, I go and make a game and I put a journalist game difficulty in there that just shows the end game cutscene, and then gives them a pre-written review that they can just repost on their website. It's like 10 out of 10, 100% recommend.
That's hilarious.
Even that's less work than most journalists do, from my understanding.
Ouch.
Wow.
Ouch.
We could call that the golden spoon mode.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. That's both equally fascinating and terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'd be interested to see if this golden key thing happens with Borderlands 3 as well. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And in that case, it might be a bit better because then I will be experiencing like a couple of golden keys every so often instead of hundreds of them at once.
Yeah, you won't have like a legacy of several years worth of them tracked on the
that's right.
page.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. Okay, well, interesting. Yeah, New Game Plus. Who the fuck would play New Game Plus modes? They're,
I know,
they're for
right?
suckers.
That's completely ridiculous.
Yeah. So, Christian, how's your week been?
So I beat Sekiro 3 more times last week.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
I actually didn't really play much this week other than Sekiro. But having said that, those 3 extra playthroughs I did, the last 2 of them only took me like a couple of hours each. Like it's not actually that much time. Like I can really just blaze through that game. So I stopped playing Sekiro around Saturday, Sunday, and haven't really played much but Hearthstone since then. I have got capped out my what I can do in Sekiro. I have the Platinum Trophy. I have I've done every ending. I've fully upgraded my character. Yeah, I need to wait for DLC to play that game more now.
Have they said anything on that? Are they planning to add DLC that you know of, or?
They haven't announced anything, but they have released DLC for every Souls game since Demon Souls. So there is a pattern that hopefully they continue, where they'll usually release at least one big new area pack or big story content pack. So
do they do that for Bloodborne as well? I actually didn't realize that.
Yeah, Old Hunters DLC, big new area, lots of new bosses. So
very cool. Okay, well, I guess that's a good track record to rely on if it comes down to it.
Yeah. So waiting for that.
Yep. How's Hearthstone treating you?
I'm enjoying it a lot, actually. I think I'm enjoying Hearthstone more than I have in the last year at least. Now that some of the more cancerous cards have rotated out, so no more Death Knights, no more Carnivorous Cube. It's no more Radiant Elemental. It's good. It's good. I'm playing a nice big Shaman deck, which I'm having a lot of fun with. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, no, it's good fun. Well,
I caught up with Christian last night, and he was talking a little bit about Hearthstone. I think I might even dip back into it as well.
Yes.
It's been a long time since I've played it, and mainly because I'm not very good at it. So, I feel like Hearthstone is certainly one of those games that you can't just kind of tune out and play on autopilot.
You did make Legend at one point.
You can, as long as you don't care too much about winning.
Yeah, but I do like winning.
Yeah. Adrian, you've achieved Legend at one point, didn't you?
No.
I thought you did.
No, I got rank 5 was the best that I got.
Okay, that's still pretty decent. That's still top 8% or something.
It was only through one of those massive aggro decks that
I think that was Zulok, I think.
Yeah.
No, it was the Murloc deck.
Okay.
That's what I mean, is that I'm so bad at those kinds of games that I just have to resort to whichever is the most aggressive, simplest, and but Christian has mentored me a little in the past, and that has helped. So it's interesting how a few basic tutorials can change your perspective on a game. So.
For sure. And, you can rest assured there's a lot of bad Hearthstone players out there.
Oh, yeah. And they have extended the number of lower ranks since you played, Adrian. So it used to be rank 25 is the lowest. Now rank 50 is the lowest. So
oh, wow. That's a big
There's
difference.
a lot more low ranks that you can smash through.
But Adrian, unfortunately, there's no Hearthstone Golden Spoon codes. So
oh, damn.
Well, as I mentioned last week, my plan this week was to jump in on the new Minecraft mod pack, Sky Factory 4, which just released on Tuesday, I want to say. No, Monday night, real late. So jumped onto that as soon as it went up. And I've been having a bunch of fun the last couple of days. Managed to draw our core group of Minecrafters back into it as well. So we've got everyone jumping onto a community world again. Sky Factory 4 has had some really cool changes from the last sort of version of this pack. One in particular I really like. They've really built out the achievement system in the pack, so that now every stage of the tech that you're completing, you've actually got like a little achievement link to it, and you can kind of use the achievement list in a way as a bit of a list of clues as to what you need to work on next to sort of get to the next step of the tree in terms of tech progression. Like a lot of as we've talked about before in Minecraft, there's not a whole lot of built-in tutorial sort of stuff. And, modded Minecraft is certainly no different. This is the Java edition too, so it's not built off the same edition as the Windows 10 one, which has the stuff a bit more similar to the console versions of the game, where you do actually get like a lot of the tutorial content and information, because it's built for those younger audiences. The Java edition is kind of like the more hardcore Minecraft, I guess. It's the OG stuff. But Sky Factory has so much content in it, so much tech in it, so much progression stuff in it. You just get lost. You get lost really easily. And, the lack of a tutorial is a big problem for a lot of people who haven't experienced modded Minecraft before. But they actually did the sensible thing, and they added a tutorial mode in this time. So you can actually start off in like a world where instead of just having a single dirt block and a tree growing off it the middle of the sky, that you've actually got like a little pot area around it that gives you some room to move and some more tutorial information as to what you can actually work on to get your head around the game. So that's cool.
Boo.
Yeah. So there you go. There's the golden spoon mode for Sky Factory.
Oh, God damn.
Yeah, it's great. No, but they've got a whole bunch of other starting worlds too, which add a bit of flavor, which are really cool. There's one where you can start with these giant sort of globe cities that are all sort of connected together with pipes, and they're sort of floating in the middle of space. You've got ones where there's different islands that are small but made of different resources, so the game becomes like a bit of an island hopping sort of expedition where you're trying to find a way to bridge across to the next island to get the next resource instead of sort of going the long route and manufacturing them. They've added a prestige system to the game now as well, where you can actually complete parts of the tech tree to unlock prestige points and spend prestige points in like a big grid of like extra special tech that you can unlock. And they've added some custom stuff to it for this purpose that is just wacky as shit. Like, one of the things you can add is a time travel device where you can actually like activate this time travel device, go back to a previously saved moment of the game, and then grab stuff from there and then travel back through in time to present time, and you keep the inventory that you've brought back with you as well as the inventory you had when you left. So it's a really cool way to duplicate items through time travel. So it's just fucking crazy how they've worked it into the game. It's very, very cool. But
that's neat.
Yeah. Yeah, just it's an interesting way to think about it. There's a world you can start off on where you are suspended above like an entire, like it's a floor of lava mode basically. Like instead of being in the middle of an empty sky, you're on top of a giant sea of lava. So if you fall, you die in the lava instead of just floating off to nowhere. And there's a variant of that where instead of lava, it's all TNT blocks. So if you do the wrong thing and accidentally let a drop of lava drop down off your island, then the entire world explodes. So yeah. Good times. So, having a bunch of fun with that. And I am still playing Division 2 every single friggin' day, guys. Because
wow.
Holy shit. I think recently we all seem to have found a bit of comfort zone games in things we've been doing.
How many hours are you up to now? Because wasn't it like 200 last week?
Yeah, like I'm well into the 200 and something now. Like I'm blitzing through. I'm working on the exotic weapons now. And I worked out that when you get the exotic weapons in the Division 2, you don't get them at the highest sort of gear score that you can get. So they're slightly underpowered compared to the other endgame stuff that you're likely to be carrying. But you can pick up blueprints to increase their level. But unfortunately, in order to increase their level, you need exotic components you can only get from breaking down the exotic weapons themselves. So I worked out a bit of a trick where I started up a second character and put my exotic weapon from my first character in the stash, which is actually shared between the two characters. It's sort of like the vault in Destiny. And then I grabbed the gun out of the stash on my second character, logged in with my first one, went and did the steps to get the exotic weapon again because it tricked the game into thinking that I hadn't gotten it yet.
No,
and then I moved it back over and deconstructed it and got the parts I needed. So, yay! Yeah, it's good times. But the big raid, the 8-player raid drops next week, same day as Avengers comes out. So, yeah, it's going to be a busy week, hey? Lots of cool stuff to look forward to. I'm super pumped for that raid. We've got 6 players fully geared up, ready to go now. We just have to pick up 2 more, so we might have to go in with some randoms. We'll see how that plays out. But, yeah, Division 2 is still really good. That's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, speaking of things that are really good, let's jump into some gaming news for this week.
Now it's time to hear some gaming news. Time for some gaming news.
So yeah, there were some big announcements this past week.
This came out of nowhere.
Yeah, so Wired put up an article that's just a whole bunch of text talking about PlayStation 5, or we don't know what it's going to be called yet, but we're assuming PlayStation 5.
What do you think the over-under on that name is, though? Like, really, if you were going to put money down?
It's Sony, I would suspect.
Come on.
Yeah, it's going to be PlayStation 5. Like, Sony are not going to do a weird Microsoft thing. I expect Microsoft's next console will do a weird Microsoft thing, but I don't think Sony are going to go and change the formula, because this is very clearly a PlayStation 5 in terms of the way they're redeveloping the console. Like, they're not going for a PlayStation 4 Extreme or anything like that. Like, this is a completely new console.
They could go for a tasteful name that actually describes the product, though, like Nintendo did with Switch. So
they could, but like that also assumes that it's going to be anything but a console that plays video games.
Yeah, that's the PlayStation part of it.
True. Can I just take a moment to reflect, though, like while we're on it, as how fucking perfect the Switch name is? That is the best branded console I've ever seen.
Switch is good.
Yeah.
Yes, Switch is very good. It's way better than Wii U.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so they're expecting a 2020 release date, which plays fairly well into my prediction about Microsoft announcing a console that's going to release next year. It's going to support PSVR on release, so the current headset, but they're also planning for a new headset, or at least
they haven't confirmed that.
They haven't confirmed it, but they were asked about it, and they said the PlayStation VR will work with it. But basically, it was a very sketchy answer that I kind of took as, yes, we're planning on a new headset.
They said that they're committed to virtual reality.
Yes.
It's a super smart move, though, when you think about it, because it's a tough onboarding for them to get people playing VR to begin with, and they've done exceedingly well with it. And they certainly don't want to raise another barrier to entry with those people who have adopted VR, with them having to move over to a new console to enjoy the next generation of VR games. So the fact that you can bring your gear over and your games over is an absolutely awesome thing. I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
Well, part of the reason why I also expect there's going to be a new PlayStation headset is because of the fact that the console supports 8K graphics, which there will be 8K graphics TVs, like that can support 8K, but it makes a lot more sense if that's for a headset. So you're rendering out 8K worth of pixels, but you're compressing that down so it's like 4K in each eye or something like that.
I don't know about this, though, because when you think about, like, I don't know if you're aware, but the PS3, when that first launched, that was one of the big things that they promoted with the PS3, was that was built to handle 1080p. And I don't think any games really took advantage of it.
A couple did.
Maybe one
Platinum
or two.
games, Bayonetta, Metal Gear Revengeance. There were some 1080p games, but not many.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be the same sort of story with 8K. I think there'll be very, very few games that actually take advantage of it.
I see 8K as it's a prestige feature. It's not not a practical feature. It's just so they can say they can do it. But
True. Yeah.
But they played some Spider-Man and they compared it to a PlayStation 4 in terms of loading times. So, like, the loading time in a PlayStation 4 was like 12 seconds to travel from one location to another. On the PlayStation 5, it was like 0.6 seconds to travel from one place to another. And that all just comes down to the fact it comes with a built-in SSD. Finally.
And it's not just it's an SSD, because people can put SSDs in the PlayStation 4s at the moment, and it doesn't, like, putting a SSD in a PS4 will like triple, will like cut down by 3 your load time, but this was 15 times faster.
Yeah.
And part of it is that they're using the PCI 4.0 express slot, and so it's a much faster, like, read-write hardware. And that Mark Cerny just seemed to be hinting that there's some, like, special source inside their SSD that pushes it above just like a standard out of the box SSD. So.
This raised a really interesting question for me with regards to game storage, though, because when you think about it, like, particularly if they're going to start leveraging things like the 8K graphic sort of technology, an install of, say, Red Dead Redemption 2, which is about 100 gig at the moment, might go up to about 150, 160 or more. So what kind of size drive is this thing going to ship with if it's an SSD? Like, SSD drives have gotten a lot cheaper, but they're still expensive, especially when you get over that terabyte mark. So
terabyte SSDs are pretty affordable now.
But do you see them going much more than that? Like, and the other thing too is that, we've got the external storage capabilities of PS4 at the moment, where you can just, connect another hard drive via USB. But, if you're relying on that, high-speed loading on SSD and that getting bottlenecked by a USB 3.0, I don't see that working particularly well. So, I don't know. It's interesting. I think they're going to have some pretty decent-sized hard drives for this to be useful. Otherwise, you're only going to have a dozen games on your system at any one time. So,
yeah. But other than that, there was just a whole bunch of hardware details. So it's running on a Ryzen AMD CPU. It's using Radeon Navi GPU, which means ray tracing will be a thing on a console.
That's the hot new shit everyone's going to be talking about for like 2 years, ray tracing.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is it?
Ray tracing is basically a graphical rendering method, and it's when you actually look at a side by side. It was Metro Exodus that did some side by side videos of this what it looks like with ray tracing versus this what it looks like with our standard lighting renderer in engine. But basically, it's as I understand it, and this is not from a graphical game developer person, but ray tracing is essentially saying when you have an actual physical space, you're getting reflections from surfaces that don't even reflect. So you'll get like a bit of blue on a white wall if it's hitting a blue wall first. Ray tracing does that.
It's like realistic tracing of light rays and the way that they scatter through air and off different materials. So and it does look beautiful when you see, like, I saw Minecraft with ray tracing and it was astounding.
Yeah. And it's like incredibly pretty, but it's also one of those little details that's like it will make games more easily beautiful for a game developer, because otherwise you have to do all that by hand. Like if you want to show a little bit of blue bouncing off of a blue wall, then that means putting up a blue light that's bouncing off that stuff. So it's much less hands-on time for a game developer. But the number of people that I think will notice ray tracing is not a lot. I think it's going to be like again, it's one of those prestige features. People will be like, wow, this game's incredibly beautiful, but they won't be saying it's beautiful because of ray tracing.
Yeah.
Didn't they say that they were going to utilize some of the ray tracing technology to improve the audio somehow as well? That was one of the things that I took out of that article.
Yeah. They do mention that,
Yeah. A lot of the article is very technical, and it's just like, it's a really weird way to announce a new console, I have to say. Like, this...
Well, they haven't really announced it yet. They're kind of... I think they're just getting ahead of some of the stuff that Microsoft's going to be announcing in the next couple of months. Because E3 is coming up pretty soon. Like, it's the first week of June. So we're about a month and a bit out now. So...
Yeah.
I totally don't buy some of the stuff they're saying about their audio tech that's in their next gen hardware, because they said that Mark Cerny said that this like amazing audio tech, even on TV speakers, you're going to be able to have like a much more improved experience. And like TV speakers are just so shithouse that like you're not going to notice like a mind blowing audio through tinny like inch long speakers. So you're going to need something decent to take advantage of it.
Yeah. But it definitely sounds like a PlayStation console. Like, from reading it, it's like, okay, yes, this all makes sense for another PlayStation, because it is just... It's the ridiculously souped-up hot rod of game consoles, really. Like, and that sounds like what they're going for. Microsoft kind of one-upped them with their most recent console, and now they're one-upping Microsoft with this. So it'll be interesting to see how things go from here.
Yeah.
But there was also a Microsoft announcement. They announced Xbox One S All Digital Edition, which I might point out is the Xbox One Sad Edition.
I call it the X-Bone Sad.
One
it's a sad boner. Yep.
Isn't that all Xboxes?
But yes, so it's an Xbox One S without a Blu-ray, and that's it. Like, it's $50 cheaper. It will be a good deal for new console owners. It's nothing dramatically new or interesting in there. It's like it's literally missing a feature. Yeah. But I do get the impression, like, given this is just a little bit out from E3, that whatever Microsoft's planning with their next console, that they will continue to support the Xbox One and Xbox One S. And I think that it'll be interesting. Like, I think that their next console will play all the Xbox One games. It'll be backwards compatible and everything, as you would expect. But I think that they're not ready to let go of the Xbox One yet. Like, that's kind of the impression I'm getting. Because this is... Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It also makes me kind of wonder if the next console is going to be digital only. This could be an experiment before that comes out. So who knows?
I severely doubt that.
I do too, but I don't know. It's just a very weird strategy.
This isn't unprecedented. Nintendo did this before with the Wii. They released a digital only Wii towards the end of the life cycle that was Canada exclusive for some reason.
Canada.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's just like a super cheap like alternative model, but I don't think it signals anything about the future of their strategy personally.
No. I totally agree, but yeah, I'm not looking into it too much, but it's just an interesting timing, I think, because it's not really gap filler. It feels like they're just, I don't know.
It seems like a test to me. They're testing the waters with more of the push towards the digital content model. But I mean, I've seen Microsoft recently say that compared to the Google Stadia stuff, which has been announced, they're not massively concerned by that as a threat because they still consider that they've got the content where Stadia doesn't. I would argue that Xbox doesn't really have the content at the moment. They need to do something about that. But yeah. I mean, compared to Stadia, I guess they do, but compared to the next best competitor, which is PlayStation, they most certainly fucking don't. So,
hang on. I wonder if this ties into their whole Stadia-esque system then. Like
the xCloud project?
Yeah, because
possibly.
That makes a lot of sense if they're having a digital-only console, but they're going to do a bunch of xCloud stuff.
This will be what we learned about at E3 this year, for sure. I think this is going to be their big push, so...
Yeah, definitely. And I imagine that their next console will probably be heavily digital to the point of maybe not even having physical discs, because... to be perfectly honest with you, nobody likes dealing with physical stores. Nobody likes doing it, so...
So Australians will buy a PlayStation?
Yeah. They already were.
Yeah.
Like when you look at stats, Australians buy PlayStation.
It just sounds like way more of an issue than like Google Stadia. Like everyone having to rely on downloading 150 gigabyte games. Like that just seems like it's eliminating so much of their market that it seems like suicide.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Diverging their plan from Sony a bit though is interesting because they've been such close competitors for so long that now they're branching out in slightly different directions. We'll truly sort of see some choice when it comes to what people want to do. So that's a good thing in a way.
Yeah.
So
a little bit of Sony online service news. They have finally allowed you to change your PSN profile name.
Awesome! I can finally get rid of Sillydong69. Yay!
This has Why would you want to get rid of that?
I know. Like, hold on to that, man.
Yeah.
They've people have been clamoring for this for years because they're pretty much like the only platform that has restricted you. You've never been able to change it before. And it has been that there's some super weird technical engineering reason why it was so complicated. Because even now that they have released it's not without its flaws, and there are a number of there's quite a short list of games that it'll actually break pretty much, like Everybody's Golf, Little Big Planet 3. They're known to have critical issues. It's about 10 have critical issues, and then there's quite a few games that have sort of milder issues where it might just make you need to log in to PlayStation again when you boot the game, or it'll reset the settings of the game back to default. Won't break the game, just introduce some inconvenience. And that's a slightly larger list of games. But everything moving forward, there's no need to worry if you do change your PlayStation name that it's going to affect any games moving forward. They've pretty much said. I have already changed mine because I didn't like my name that I picked many years ago. So I was very happy to see this finally announced. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that what they've done is super fucking weird. Like, they've offered very little information on the nature of the problems with the list of games that have got known issues. Because when they say that, something's got critical issues, it would be nice to see some information about, through their testing, maybe what critical issues they are that they've discovered, as opposed to just vague critical issues. So
no, they do have that. They have basically an encyclopedia of every game you can search through from A to Z, and you can click it and it will tell you what the issue is with the game. So
how do you find that information though? Like, can someone who's actually going through their menus on their console to change their name actually get access to that list, or do you have to hop on the web and search for it?
There is. I don't remember if it's exactly what's directly linked to, but when you do change your name through the console, it does give you all the warning and tell you about the potential issues, and there may be a click here and it may open the browser to do that. Otherwise, it's on the PlayStation blog is where you can find that. But they do clearly signpost the warnings when you actually do it on your console.
I don't know. It didn't seem like enough info about specifics to me, but I don't know. I'm super skeptical about it still. Seems like a lot of trouble unless you super super seriously want it for my end, but. Yeah, I
mean, like you said that, but it's like Everybody's Golf, Little Big Planet 3. Like, come on, it's 10 games that have big issues. That's it.
There's a lot of other games there that have small issues and they haven't given a lot of information on though. Like Bloodborne's on that list, So
yeah, but all Bloodborne does is reset the game's settings. That's it.
Okay,
like your camera control and that. It's not going to break your game.
Okay, well, for stuff like that.
All I want to know is, am I still going to be able to play sensible soccer without it affecting me?
Yeah, Bloodborne's one I looked up specifically because I was interested that it was on that list. So
yeah. I don't think you would be able to play sensible soccer without having some sort of effect, Adrian. It'll be an outside of game effect, but it'll be an effect nonetheless. Anyway, so speaking of effects, Xbox Game Pass has had a bit of an effect since it launched. It's been very, very popular as a service, and lots of people have been jumping on board and getting their free access to games, particularly ones on launch, by being part of that service. And it looks like that Microsoft's going to be taking it a step further, and they've now announced that they're bringing a thing called the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is a new subscription tier to the service that's coming sometime later this year. And basically, it's going to be a combo of the Game Pass and the Xbox Live Gold together as part of the monthly subscription, and it's going to be costing about $14.99 US per month. So, gold subscriptions currently, this is all US prices, gold subscriptions currently cost $9.99 per month, and Game Pass monthly on top of that, pretty good saving. So, yeah, seems like a good thing. Game Pass gives you the games. Games with Gold gives you, or Xbox Live Gold, I should say, gives you all the online access features that some of the games require. So it's a bit like the PlayStation Plus stuff. You just don't get the PlayStation Now stuff on top of that. Now, I'm mixing metaphors. It's confusing. Hop on the Xbox blog to check it out. It's just, you get more games free, access, cheaper price. It's all good. That's all you need to know. So, yeah. Now, on to things that are also super, super cool and super, super weird. You guys like Star Wars? Like a bit of Star Wars? Everyone likes a bit of Star Wars. All right. Fuck you, Adrian. Everyone else. So, all right. Anyway, we spoke last week about the Star Wars celebration weekend coming up, and we're expecting some news and some details about the new Respawn produced Jedi Fallen Order game, and we got exactly that. We got a full length sort of cinematic cutscene trailer. Featuring Cameron Monaghan in the lead role of the new Jedi in that. Anyone who watches the TV show Gotham will probably recognize his work as Jerome / Jeremiah / pseudo Joker, or whatever you want to call him. He's a fantastic actor. He does a great job in that show. So he's playing the lead in this one. And very much looks like him. Very much looks like a young Jedi who's basically trying to escape the Fallout post Order 66 sort of drop on the Star Wars universe. And the Jedi being actively hunted. There's some cool new sort of Empire troopers that are on his trail. What were they called? They were the Empire
Inquisitors.
Inquisitors? Was it the Inquisitors? Yep. There was another word for them, weren't there?
It's Inquisitors, they were calling them.
Okay, cool.
They exist in Star Wars Rebels. Yes. The animated program.
Yeah, I know there was a character in the program called the Inquisitor. I didn't realize they were plural, though. So
there's more than one. Yeah, there's several of them.
Very cool. Okay.
One of them is voiced by Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Really?
TV's Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. I don't know what you guys think, but from expecting absolutely zero out of this game, given EA's track record with Star Wars properties as of late, this trailer looked really fucking cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I've had some confidence that Respawn were making a good game. So
yeah,
and EA's like advertising for it, they're very much like, this is Respawn's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Like, they're not like, it has EA's logo on it, but they've been very much distancing themselves from the fact that it is being made by Respawn. Like, they are amping that part up. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. The impression I've been getting from EA is very much they're like, look, we're not putting in loot boxes or anything like that. Please stop being mean.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
We're sorry. We've learned our lesson.
just to sort of parrot a couple of things I've seen mentioned online the last week, because I think this is a very good observation and totally accurate. Isn't it weird that, Respawn, a company who has been known for doing, pretty good multiplayer sort of content, is now working on a single player narrative game, whereas, EA were expecting BioWare to have the chart-topping hit multiplayer game. So, that's odd. That's an odd one.
The way that EA's been run recently is bizarre. Just I don't understand why they've made a lot of the decisions that they've made, but whatever. Clearly, it's not working for them.
Well, Jedi Fallen Order is not a Frostbite engine game either, so that probably counts in its favor.
It makes me wonder if they allowed them to do that, and if it's like it does not predate Anthem. Well, obviously, it would not predate Anthem, but what was the other one that? No, so Mass Effect Andromeda. Like it wouldn't predate Mass Effect Andromeda, so they would have seen what happened with Mass Effect Andromeda and went, "You guys can use an engine that you want to use. Don't use Frostbite if you want."
My understanding is that they were working on it before they were acquired by EA, and they were already using Unreal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, possibly.
I think that's I've definitely read that.
Isn't EA the license holder though? So how could that be true?
It would have been not
at the
Star
time.
Wars
It was
game.
before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They've been working on it for a long time.
Right. Cool. Oh, looks good. I'm keen to see more now for sure after that little intro. So yeah, good things coming potentially. Adrian, tell us some more good things coming.
Yeah, so Capcom is releasing its own sort of version of, well, not a mini console, but Capcom is releasing a collection of games loaded onto a Capcom-styled fight stick station, I guess is the best way to put it. So it's a really large fight stick with 2 sticks, plenty of buttons, styled in the Capcom logo. It's being called Capcom Home Arcade. And it comes loaded with, I think it's 16 games. I'll quickly read them out because people are probably interested. We've got 1944, The Loop Master, Alien vs. Predator, Armored Warriors, Capcom Sports Club, Captain Commando, Cyberbots, Darkstalkers, Eco Fighters, Final Fight, Ghouls and Ghosts, Giga Wing, Mega Man The Power Battle, yes, Pro Gear, Street Fighter 2, Hyper Fighting, Strider, and Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. So it's got quite a lot of cool titles in there. It goes on sale October 25th and is probably going to retail for $360 Australian, which is quite a lot, really. I'm not sure if I would pick it up for that much. But,
yeah, it's definitely not a mini, like you say. It's
big. Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, looking at the size of it, it's it's probably the length of 4 PS4s if you were to line them up. But I do think it's cool. If someone gave me one, I'd certainly be very happy. Comes with a USB charger and a HDMI out of the box, so you can plug and go. But yeah, kind of cool.
I think it looks dumb as shit, but
Really?
I want.
I think
one.
aesthetically
cool.
it looks awful. Actually, I hate the way it looks, and I think that's really sad because I love what it is. I just hate how it looks.
Yeah,
Oh, I like it.
I still want one.
Fair
though.
enough. Oh well, I won't buy one now.
I'd like to rock up to a fighting game tournament with that monstrosity, just whip out and go, yeah, let's go.
It's got 2 sticks on it, so that wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah, it's true. You should use both of them. No, I don't think that works. Anyway, yeah, it's weird. All right, well, speaking of weird things, the last item we've got to chat about today, you know Harmonix, that company, what makes them music games? So they're teaming up with Twitch, and they have just released a new Twitch-integrated karaoke game, which is a combo release from Harmonix and Twix. Twix. Holy shit, that sticks in your tongue. This is very, very strange. So Twitch Sings is a karaoke game that is basically the first video game that has been, Twitch involved as a developer as well, in part. And it's a free-to-play title on Windows. And basically, it is exactly everything that people who do streaming with karaoke would want. You can actually, hop on and, stream yourself singing this, track list of games and, people who are into that kind of thing. I think it's a really smart way for them to capitalize on something that, a lot of people who are on Twitch are already pretty much doing. So, and given that people who have decent sized Twitch followings are, going to be able to monetize this content, it's going to be their absolute dream come true. So, yeah, super interesting. There's also things that you can do where you can, run challenges and viewers can, get involved and obviously, pick next tracks and that kind of thing. There's a lot of interaction possibilities with this, so I can see the appeal for sure. So, yeah, but apparently the game actually records your performance as well, and you can, clip it afterwards and look back on your performance and stuff. So, look, it's certainly not for me. I'm going to guess it's probably not for any of us four, but I'm kind of glad it's a thing because it's a cool idea. So, yeah, but I'm certainly not going to play it.
No, nor am I.
Nope. So yeah, Twitch sings. All right. Well, anyway, let's all shove that to the side. And tonight, because we had a big chunk of news, we've only got a sort of shorter topic to chat about, but it's one that's a bit timely at the moment, so we can have a bit of a powwow about game exclusivity. So this has been a very hot topic as of the last couple of months, and I would say that as of 2019, it's certainly been one of the key themes thus far in the year. And I mean, the truth is that game exclusives are not a new concept. They have been around for a long time, and I guess up until now, they have taken many, many different forms. Console exclusives are probably the one that people are best sort of familiar with. You know, when you are choosing, as we were talking about before, whether you want to buy a Nintendo console or an Xbox or a PlayStation, usually your decision as to which one you're going to buy is kind of, you know, influenced quite heavily by which games you know only exist on one of those consoles, or maybe one or two in some rare cases. But as Microsoft has demonstrated over the last couple of years at E3 especially, I guess the definition around exclusives has gotten pretty murky. So, do you remember that E3 a couple of years ago where Microsoft were bringing up a whole bunch of things on stage and had that big exclusive tag that was playing up on the screen behind them? And in actual fact, a lot of this stuff was, you know, an exclusive reveal as opposed to an exclusive game or a timed exclusive. And they were very fast and loose with their words and terminology about it. And people were wondering what the hell was going on with that. Yeah. So it's interesting. But, yeah, so I guess we can just chat briefly about what the heck it means and some of the pros and cons and why we're seeing so many exclusives at the moment. And you know, we've got some different types of exclusives that have been creeping up quite a bit recently with regards to you know, game store exclusives as opposed to platform exclusives. So I might just sort of throw to Matt first, because I think this is probably something you've got a little bit more I guess familiarity with when it comes to the publisher and developer side of things. Like, why do publishers and developers get involved in having exclusives and exclusive deals? Like, given that that's going to cut their potential buyer audience, like, what's in it for them, essentially?
So for a publisher, what's in it for them is bringing people over to their platform. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if they have an exclusivity that's like, okay, well, we are going to have this game that you really want available only on our platform, then that's going to bring them customers over. For all the customers that they have, they're going to be complaining about that exclusivity. There'll be another 3 customers that will be like, I'm perfectly fine with this, and we'll go over and we'll do it anyway, or they'll just wait for it to not be exclusive. For developers, though, it's a bit more complicated, but it's still one of those things where, put it this way, right? You're running your own business, and you've got a couple of dozen people that you're paying, and you're looking at your current budgets, and you can keep on paying those people to finish your current project. But once the project's finished, you don't really have any income, and you're reliant upon that project making a ton of money to be able to actually continue paying those people and keeping them employed. So company A comes along and says, hey, we want you to not release your product with company B, and we will give you $5 million to do that. There's no question that you take that deal, because company B has not gone and approached you and said, we want to have an exclusivity deal and we'll give you $6 million, because if they do that, well, then there's no question you go to company B instead, right? For a developer, it's all about survival and keeping their studio afloat. And even if they're like a big publisher, it could be literally EA that goes and gets approached by somebody and says, hey, we'll give you money if you don't release on this other platform, they're going to still take that deal because that's just free money, right? And for a developer, there is a risk involved in that, and that's part of the reason why there's money involved, because you've got to turn around and say, well, we are limiting the number of potential players that can have access to our games. So if you get offered an Xbox One exclusive, then you go and release on that platform, you have to do so knowing that all those people that would have played your game on PlayStation 4 don't have access to it. And if you're a small indie, they're not going to go and buy an Xbox One just to play your game on that console. So you have limited your audience, but you've offset that with the fact that you now have millions of dollars from the company that's helped you out. The deals can vary as well, though. So Sony, for instance, if you're a small indie, getting money from Sony can be very, very hard to do, but getting a marketing deal with Sony in exchange for exclusivity is something you totally can do. And so what Sony will do, and I can't remember if it was Snake Pass that Sony pushed, or if it was another game. It was another small indie that Sony were doing this for. But No Man's Sky is a really good example. Like, Sony pushed the marketing for No Man's Sky really hard because they had an exclusivity deal with Sony. And Sony didn't care about the PC version of the game because they weren't in competition with PC. Like, PlayStation 4 does not compete with PCs, but it does compete with Xbox Ones and Switches. So that's the exclusivity for Sony. But they'll give you marketing, but they won't give you cash in that respect. And that still
factoring that
can
into
be
your
really
budget,
worth
that's
it.
effectively cash in the pocket anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. It's exactly right.
Hmm.
But yeah, so there's also the fact that making games on multiple platforms is really, really hard. And for a developer, it can pretty much be a win-win scenario to get an exclusivity, even if there's not cash involved in its marketing, because that means all the money you would have had to spend to get people to develop your game on that second platform or third platform, whatever, is no longer being spent, and you've just saved a ton of money in addition to, not having to pay for your marketing or anything like that. So there's a variety of really good reasons why developers will take those deals. And I think when we talk about game exclusivity, usually the people that have offered that exclusivity get kind of highlighted as being the bad guys. But at the end of the day, it's the game developers that have made the decision to go through with that exclusivity deal. And there's a lot of very good reasons why they would take that money.
I mean, and there's lots of different natures of those deals these days too, isn't there? Because, I mean, whereas once upon a time, kind of we knew exclusives as a very sort of locked down, walled garden approach where a game would only exist on one console over another, and that was it. Now, these days, we've got, games that are, timed exclusives. They could be console exclusives. Like you said, with No Man's Sky, they still exist on PC in addition to that. So you've still got a bit of an open audience there in addition to the console market. You've got... we've also got the hardware side of things too. Like, I think it's fair to say that some things end up being exclusive purely because of the nature of the hardware they're designed to play on. And VR is an interesting case with that too, because, looking at PlayStation VR versus some of the room scale stuff that you can do with like HTC Vive, if a game is built to, be able to work in an environment where you have to get up and move around, then maybe there's some stuff that you can only do with certain types of control schemes and things that you just can't do on the PlayStation. So there's another consideration there. So yeah. There's
also the fact that like exclusivities have saved games from never being released. So
I heard that Cuphead was one like that. Yeah.
Cuphead was a situation because the Cuphead developers had to mortgage their homes to finish that game until Microsoft came around.
Yeah.
And Tomb Raider, the modern Tomb Raider remake, that was a Microsoft exclusive because Microsoft paid for that to be developed. Nobody else was interested in paying for that game to be finished.
Are you definitely right about that? Because I thought that was a paid exclusive. That was a Square Enix game.
Yeah, no, so it's a Square Enix game, but the Microsoft money, from what I understand of the story, helped get that game over the line that they would not have had otherwise. Because, the thing about publishers is publishers won't throw infinite amounts of money at a project to see it finished. Like, if it becomes a matter of, okay, well, they need another couple of million or 100 million or whatever to finish that game off, and we've already invested a couple of 100 million into it, is it really worth our time doing that, or do we just take that loss now? And as I understand it, Microsoft assisted in getting that game over the line.
I'm surprised that if Microsoft put money behind it, that it was only a timed exclusive and not like a... Because it came to the other consoles eventually.
So the interesting thing in my discussions with Sony partners I've had in past is Sony does not want you to be an exclusive on their platform forever, because it's better for them if they can rub it in the face of everybody on other platforms that they're not going to be able to play this for the next year. That they can basically say, look, this is an exclusive on our platform, and if you really want this, you can go out and buy our platform now. But otherwise, you're just going to have to sit over there and quietly weep in your corner that's not the PlayStation corner because you don't have access to us. It is very... There's different kind of mindsets about exclusivity on the business end, but the impression I've gotten in my years of doing game dev and interacting with partners is that they're not interested in having a game be exclusive forever unless it's a first-party title. If you're a third-party title, then they gain more from you if they get to rub it in everybody else's faces that it's timed and they're going to be out there eventually on other platforms. Because people that love that game, like Tomb Raider is a really good example. There will be huge fans of Tomb Raider that were used to playing it on PlayStation, but they now have to go out and buy an Xbox, and they love that game. They love that game series, so they probably went out and bought an Xbox to do it, you know?
For timed exclusives, it seems to do the bulk of the job anyway, because most of the sales for that game are going to be in the short-term window regardless. So, yeah.
And it's also a scaling thing, right? Like, if you're paying for a exclusive forever, then it's a lot more money that you're spending as the platform holder versus a timed exclusive where, you know, you can probably get away with offering like $500,000 or something like that, or depending on the scale of the game, you know, like for an indie to do a timed exclusive with you, marketing is often just enough. But for a big company, like, it may be the difference between paying for the entire project or paying just a couple of, you know, 10 million or something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing out random numbers, but it's a scaling thing.
Yeah. That makes sense. With a series like Tomb Raider 2, like, I imagine if they managed to lock down some sort of timed exclusive deal for like multiple titles in that series too, like if the first title then gets pushed onto other platforms later in its cycle, and then, you know, people on PlayStation or whatever pick it up and start playing it, and then the sequel comes out, and then the sequel's a timed exclusive on only one platform, these people who are now invested in the franchise because they've played it on another platform are now connected to it, and they're going to have to really make that choice as to whether they want to wait or not. So yeah, it's like they've had a taste now, so it's a little bit more tantalizing for them. So yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting from the business side of things. But I mean, I think that the thing that a lot of people get caught on, and this is what we've been seeing a lot lately with all of the raging online with some of the things like the Metro Exodus and the Borderlands 3 announcements with the Epic Store exclusivity, is that people really get a stick in their craw around the impact to the consumer. So, you know, I think most people understand that there are business reasons why this sort of stuff happens, but I think that a lot of the time what they kind of frame it in their head as is these big corporations that are already spending heaps of money making even more money, as opposed to some of those edge cases where like games just wouldn't exist at all if it wasn't for the case of having some of that funding available. So, yeah.
Based on like interest in reading like the YouTube comments on a lot of stuff that I should not be reading YouTube comments on, because, you know, the discussions about this sort of thing, the impression I get from a lot of gamers is that there's just not much understanding in how the business works at all. Because like a lot of them are turning around and will say, you know, oh, well, first it's loot boxes where they're trying to take our money, and now they're trying to take our money through exclusivities. And it's like, that's just not fair. But like game dev studios close all the time. Big game dev studios that seem like they'd have lots of stability because they've had tons of success, like Telltale Games, for example, just disappear into the ether. And you have to ask yourself, like, if Telltale were offered an Epic Games exclusivity and got $10 million, would they still be around and paying employees and making games?
Yeah, they would have taken that deal for sure.
Yeah. So you just don't know with a lot of these studios, like, how close were they to the brink? And in a lot of cases, like, they're probably not that close to the brink, and it's just giving them more runway to keep alive. Because the fact of the matter is, games don't make a lot of money. They really don't.
Yeah. Unless you have a big success, which, you know, a lot less common than people led to believe, I think. Yeah. Look, I had a thought during the week when it came to, like, I was racking my brain trying to think of maybe some arguments in the pro camp from at a consumer level for why exclusivity could be good. And I was struggling to come up with much, because I think we could almost universally agree that for most buyers, it's not a great thing. I think maybe they can appreciate the long-term sort of benefits to the industry, but to them as an individual, in a lot of cases, exclusivity is not a good thing. But the one thing I did come up with is that exclusivity on a platform, or even to a certain extent with a game store, if that game store is connected to a game launcher, can actually mean that all of their friends that are going to be playing that game will, by part of that, all end up in the same place. And that can actually be a benefit, as opposed to situations where you want to play a game with someone and you can't because you're actually playing them on different platforms or playing them across different sort of launcher programs that have separate friends lists and aren't compatible with each other. So in a way, it does kind of streamline the community experience with a particular title. But that's really all I could come up with. So I don't know what you guys think about that. Yeah.
If you want an argument in favor of exclusivity, God of War.
Mm-hmm.
The God of War is your argument in favor of exclusivity. Like, that game turned out so good because of the fact that they could focus all their attention on just the one console.
Yeah.
Like, they could, from a game development end, like, okay, these are the strengths and weaknesses of this device. This is exactly how this device works. If we do this thing and tweak the memory of the PlayStation 4 and put these things in this area, we can get more out of our game and you're only focused on doing the one thing, right? You're only focused on all the pros and cons of that one device and everything that one device can do. And the same goes for all of Nintendo's titles, right? Like, all those titles that make use of the Switch controllers and the fact that that console can be taken around on the go, like, that's all benefited from the fact that they don't have to worry about how the hell this is going to work on a mobile phone or how the hell this is going to work on an Xbox One. Like, you just wouldn't be able to have those things work outside of that space necessarily. But it's hard to see that as a consumer, I think. And certainly when it comes down to Steam versus Epic, you don't get those benefits. Like, and to be perfectly honest, Epic is not a good platform right now. So for a lot of consumers, it's going to feel anti-consumer because of the fact that, well, this is on the worst platform. So what benefit is there to me? Whereas God of War and the PlayStation 4, being an Xbox One owner and going out and buying a PS4 to play that game, you might have a better respect for why it was released only on that platform in the first place.
Yeah.
So.
It's funny. I mean, there's other games that have cropped up recently too that haven't really drawn that amount of ire, like the Blizzard stuff that recently went to GOG, like the relaunch of Diablo 1 and the early Warcraft games. I mean, that's exclusive to GOG now. And
People love GOG.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it means that you can't play it through Steam or any other sort of platform that people might be invested in like that. So, you know, again, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I'm finding it weird how some people seem to be cherry picking these situations above others, where it seems to be the same impact. But I don't know.
I don't think it's fair to compare Epic to GOG though, because GOG is a store. They have their GOG Galaxy launcher, but all their games are DRM free, so you can just launch them just through the .exe. Like, it's very different to having the Epic Store launcher being your, like, the hub that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Like, GOG is like the ideal PC gaming to me, which is no launcher at all. You just download the game and play the game.
Yeah.
But maybe that's my opinion. But
yeah, well, I mean, that's a good tie-in now to sort of what we all think. So, I mean, do each of you sort of have an approach or an attitude when it comes to game exclusives? Like, will you usually, if something's exclusive that you're interested in, try and, you know, begrudgingly find a way to get to play it? Or do you get turned off instantly as soon as you hear that something's an exclusive? Or I mean, what do you think?
if I want to play a game, then it won't, like, I'll play even if it's an exclusive. Like, I'm not going to embargo something and whinge if a game's an exclusive. If I want to play it, I'm just going to play it. But I may prefer to have had the option in the first place. Like, I think for me, it's a pretty simple, like, equation of, would this game have existed in this, like, in a way that, would this product have existed without exclusivity? And if the answer is no, then I don't mind if it's exclusive. So, for example, like, there's been some examples already, but I go to Bayonetta 2 on the Wii U. Mm-hmm. People whinged about that. Some people whinged about that being exclusive to Wii U, but it just would not have existed at all if it wasn't for Nintendo funding it. So that didn't bother me one bit, because if it wasn't on Wii U, it wasn't on anything.
Yeah. But
timed exclusives, paid exclusives, I don't like those so much, because most of the time it is more of what, like Matt was talking about, where it's a decision about the security of your company and trying to maximize profits and you know, ensure longevity for your team and that sort of thing, which I totally understand as a developer. But as a consumer, what it comes down to is somebody's paid to take this game away from me.
Yeah.
That I don't like that. So
yeah, I think we can all 100% agree that exclusives do not feel good as a consumer, and there is no amount of justification from a developer that will make them feel good. And I think that a lot of developers are taking this personally, because a lot of gamers are on Twitter and attacking developers for the fact that they have made this decision. But at the same time, like, it's very easy for me, like, when this whole discussion was first happening with Epic and Steam and everything like that, it was very easy for me to just go, I don't understand why this is a problem. Because for me, I don't care. Like, I don't care if I have to go out and download another platform. Like, that's nothing. I've already gone out and bought all 3 major consoles because there was a game on them that I wanted to play and it was exclusive.
Ditto.
So, yeah, like, another platform on my PC is nothing. Like, I just do not care. And I don't use the features, so I don't really give a fuck, right? Like, there's so much shit that is on Steam that I have never used and would never bother using as a consumer. But other people love that shit because they have invested their time into Steam. Like, you got the Steam achievements and the trading cards and everything like that, and people are fucking crazy about them. I don't care. Like, I just want a space where I can have my games and play them. But when it comes down to making a decision as to where I buy my games, like, I will typically go for the platforms that will guarantee that the developer on the other end will get the most money out of it. And quite often that means avoiding Steam. So I end out a lot on itch.io, and the Epic Games Store is really good for that stuff as well. But everything on the Epic Games Store right now is pretty much an exclusive already. So yeah. But yeah, it just really depends. Like, if it came out that one of the platforms I was using was doing something really nasty to my PC, I'd be like, shit, nope, that thing's getting uninstalled and I'm not buying games from it anymore. But that's just not the case. Like, there's nothing wrong with the Epic Games Store other than the fact that it just isn't very good in terms of its interface right now, and that just comes down to the fact that it was rushed. But I don't have a problem with it. So
I had to remove the Bethesda launcher recently for that reason, because it was putting something really nasty on my PC. Adrian can probably tell you what it was. So
Fallout 76?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
The only launcher I've had
Trojan
to-
horse shit.
The only launcher I've had to uninstall for that reason wasn't a games launcher, and that's iTunes. I just fucked iTunes right off my computer because that thing is terrible. So
Yeah.
iTunes is terrible. Yeah, like if Epic or Steam were to start doing a lot of what iTunes did, I would be fucking out. I'd just be like, no, not dealing with that crap.
Yeah. iTunes is like Skype for me. It's a necessary evil that I hate, but I still use nonetheless. So I don't know. Adrian, do you have any particular thoughts or process around decisions when you're buying exclusives, or did you just get what you want and don't really care, or where do you land on that?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah?
Did you just sum me up in one sentence? The only thing that springs to mind recently was Sunset Overdrive, because that was an Xbox One exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out on Steam later anyway, so I'm like, yeah, I'm happy. I can't think of anything that I've looked at and gone, oh, that's an exclusive. I can't play it. Oh no. I usually maybe might for a split second go, oh, that's a shame. And then I almost instantly forget that it was ever an exclusive to begin with. Yeah. So I guess I don't commit myself to franchises well enough for that to be an issue. So I guess that's it really. I don't like it because it means that if something, like for example, if tomorrow someone said Warframe 2 is coming out and it's going to be an Xbox One exclusive, I'd be like, oh fuck, now I'm going to buy an Xbox. Maybe that's kind of where I stand on it. Like, I'm one of those people that if I do really want something, I will just go buy the console.
Yeah.
So that's it, really.
Yeah, I'm the same with the Xbox. Like this generation, there was only maybe 1 or 2 games that I had an interest in playing on the Xbox, and everything else I was very happy with PlayStation. But I went out and got an Xbox regardless because I didn't want to miss out on them. So
yeah.
And when it comes to launches, I can't remember if I mentioned this on the podcast or not last week, but I remember bringing it up. When it comes to like PC launches, I don't give 2 shits which client the game is coming out. I'll just download that client and use it. Yeah. I don't like having more than one client just because it's a bit messy. And in fact, I hate Origin because it's a pain in the ass to use. But if the client is like just another window between me and the game, I don't give a shit what client it's on. I'll just get the game on that.
Yeah.
So I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not a industry guy, so I don't understand like the points of it. Like I understand like for profit, but like as a consumer, I'm just whatever. You know, Borderlands 3 is coming out on the Epic Store. I'll just play it on the Epic Store. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But that's me. Like I don't have much more to say about that, I guess.
I think it would be good if most people fell into that camp, but people just take this weird kind of, almost like a social justice kind of approach to combating some of this exclusivity stuff, which I think is in itself a bigger problem than the exclusivity. So
I think it's just indicative of the internet where people like to affiliate their products with their identities.
Yeah.
So I imagine
it's this brand tribalism, isn't it? It's exactly that. Yeah, it's like the
I
console
disagree
wars
completely,
of
I
old.
gotta say.
Sorry?
I disagree completely.
Okay.
Because I feel like if there's been a franchise that has historically been multi-platform, and I enjoy that franchise, and it's games, I've paid money for my PlayStation, and I played Tomb Raider 2013, and then Microsoft pays to take that away from me so that it's an Xbox exclusive. I don't like that because now I can't play that game without buying an Xbox, and I don't think that's me being tribalistic. That's me because I can't play that game anymore that I would have if Microsoft didn't pay to take it away. And I know, Matt, you're saying that they maybe partially funded it, but I'm just saying hypothetically, that same scenario does happen.
Yeah.
What you're actually saying, there is actually a term for it, and another game developer pointed it out, and I can't remember who it was or what they had exactly said, but it's this whole thing of, it's not tribalism, but it's investment in a franchise. So if you feel like, you've gone out and you've bought every game in a franchise and you love this franchise and you've always played it on this platform, you connect those things together. And so if that franchise is to change anything in future, or if it's to go to another platform, for example, then you feel like you have ownership in that franchise because you've been and invested in it for so long that it feels like a betrayal to you because of the fact that it's
I don't feel like I have ownership of it. I just want to play it and I can't.
No, not ownership of it in terms of like, I've played all the Super Mario games, so therefore I own Mario. Not like that, but like ownership in terms of like you've become invested in it. And you
even if it's not a franchise, even if it's a brand new game, if it's a third party game and then one company's paid so that it's Microsoft's exclusive and I can't play it because I don't have an Xbox, I don't like that. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna kick and scream about it, but I would prefer to be able to play the game I want to play without buying another console, and I think that's kind of pretty natural.
What about cross-generational
like
series though? Because you'll definitely have situations where like subsequent games. And I mean, Uncharted is probably a good example of this. Like, you can't play Uncharted 4 unless you have a PS4. So if you hadn't bought that console and you only had a PS3, then you'd have to buy a PS4 to be able to play that game. So how is that any different?
Because that game can only exist on a PlayStation 4. That's completely different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about within the same generation. This game is a multi-platform game. But it's been taken away from me, and maybe it'll come out 2 years later, but I want to play it now. That's completely different to cross-generational games.
Yeah, okay.
Like Titanfall, for example. Titanfall, actually that's a bad example because that was on PC, so I could just play it on PC. But if I didn't have a PC, if I only had a PlayStation and Microsoft paid exclusivity for that, then I would like, oh, that's a shame. I'd like to play that game. I can't play that game. That's a shame.
What about exclusivity when it comes to game content? And I think one of the examples I can think of is Destiny 2, because Destiny 2 had like an exclusive strike for its entire first 2 years of existence, and some exclusive exotics that only existed on the PlayStation version of the game. That
doesn't bother me because it's kind of trivial. Like maybe a strike is a large example, but most of the time it's like cosmetics or one extra little mission. Like Assassin's Creed does it sometimes. There'll be like a shitty little add-on mission. That doesn't bother me because I can still play the game. But if a paid exclusivity deal means that I can't play the game, then I don't like that because I want to play the game. So
yeah.
So for me, like, I have a lot of problems with that. Like, so it's in a lot of ways that exclusivity of content. If there were an exclusivity of, Destiny 2 is only going to be on the PlayStation 4 because then fine, whatever. But exclusivity of content feels really bad because it's not going to inspire anybody to buy a PlayStation 4. It's just a reward for already owning a PlayStation 4 and playing Destiny on it. Whereas if it was exclusive content to the PlayStation 4 because Destiny 2 was exclusive to it, totally different matter because that makes sense. But as a developer, it reminds me a lot of the cross-platform play, and the fact that you can literally change a line of code to make cross-console and cross-platform play happen, but you are not allowed to do it. And the thing that happened with Destiny 2 recently with the guns, there was that one exotic gun that was exclusive to PlayStation 4 owners that was accidentally given to Xbox One and PC players. and then they had to take it away from them because, sorry, this is a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Like, that feels bad because it's literally something there in the game that you're just not allowed to have.
Yeah.
And I think that is, like, that feels a lot worse almost for me than an exclusive does. Because an exclusive is, well, I could fix this problem if I went out and played that on this console. But if you have an Xbox One, you're not going to go out and buy a PlayStation 4 just to get a fucking digital gun in Destiny.
Yeah,
Like, that's not going to inspire you to do it. So it just feels like a dick move on PlayStation's behalf to pay for that.
I guess my biggest fear when it comes to exclusive content is I don't want to see another game franchise or another game go the Pokemon route, where basically you end up with two versions of the same game with different content in each, and you can only truly experience all of it by having both of them. I think that would be a very fucking bad situation. So, yeah.
I don't think Pokemon was quite that bad because it was always encouraging players to interact.
Oh, Pokemon's a totally different
situation.
Yeah, because it was designed around trading and playing together with other people and that kind of thing. But yeah.
I would rather have some version of a game that I can play than not be able to play the game. So
True. Yeah, in terms of priorities, I would agree that's probably higher on the list. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, exclusivity. It's not just a cut and dry thing. It's very, very complicated and multi-layered, like an onion that only one person has and nobody else can enjoy. So, I don't know. Maybe that's a bad analogy. Anyway. All right. Well, thanks to the chat, guys. That was a good one. Now, we have a couple little bits of stuff to wrap up tonight's episode with. So, I'm just going to throw to Matt for the first one of those. And this is sort of a bit of planning ahead. So, Matt, what do you got cooking up at the moment? What's going on?
So, game jams are a thing that game developers do, but I've never seen a podcast do a game jam.
What?
So we're gonna do a game jam, sort of. We're not gonna go actually make a game. Everybody's gonna go away for a week and come up with a game pitch based upon a theme that I'm gonna give you. And then next episode, you'll get to pitch your ideas. And if you're listening, I would really suggest you actually pitch your ideas as well. And if they're especially good, we'll go ahead and read them out. Because this theme is fucking great. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, I really love it.
Don't big note yourself too much.
The theme better not be Destiny 2, man, I swear to God.
No, it's not Destiny 2. So the whole way this is going to work, next episode, you guys, I might even actually put a pitch together. You never know. But everybody will pitch a game. So you can put like a 30-second elevator pitch together and then just how your game is going to work and gameplay, whatever you want to put into it. We were joking about putting together slides. If you want to put together slides, go right ahead. Nobody can see them.
It's not going to be 30 seconds, I can tell you that.
No, the elevator pitch has to be 30 seconds. That's the point of the elevator pitch. Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
But so the elevator pitch
Luke can't do anything for just 30 seconds, let's face it.
That's what my wife says.
An elevator pitch for everyone. God. For everybody listening, an elevator pitch is called an elevator pitch because it's you are in an elevator with the CEO of some big company and you're pitching your game to them so that they want to buy it in the next 30 seconds. And that's the whole idea. So basically you're saying Destiny 2 is a looter shooter where you have space powers and you get to fly around a spaceship and you shoot aliens of a whole bunch of varieties, that sort of thing. And then after you do your elevator pitch, we'll do a nice big long deep dive into what exactly the game is. So then you can talk to your heart's content then, Luke.
Okay. Deal.
So
I only need 3 words.
Big
anime titties.
I get caught in the elevator doors, man.
So the theme for this first inaugural podcast jam...
We'll call it the party game jam.
I love it. Does the inaugural mean it's already happened?
No, I think it's the first. The inaugural is the first one.
You can't have a first inaugural.
Sure.
Yes, you can. That is the first.
That is the first.
Oh, what am I thinking of? Annual.
All right.
Sorry.
Anyway, so the theme. I hated Rage 1, but I'm really excited for Rage 2. So the theme for the podcast and making this game next week is going to be designing the sequel to a game that you hate so that you would actually enjoy it.
Interesting.
Oh, Fallout 77, here we go.
So, okay. How much, but okay, maybe this is a question for next week, but how much of the original game do we need to retain?
That is totally up to you.
Interesting.
So we just don't keep anything of the game that we hated?
Fallout 77.
It has to be a sequel. So,
Okay.
like, keep the sequel part in mind. If it's completely just like, yeah, so I really hated Fallout 76, so I'm making Fallout 77 with big anime titties, and it's just a
That sounds perfectly fine to me.
it's a dating game now.
So Matt, what about a remake of an existing game that is sort of released like a sequel, a la Prey?
Oh, I think that's a really cool idea. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
That's still
Interesting.
technically a sequel. It's a remake, but like if you're taking a game that's fairly old and you're going to say we're going to remake the first Deus Ex and we're going to make it not shit. I'm not saying Deus Ex was shit. I'm just thinking of an example. But anyway.
Well, I mean, the fun thing about Prey is that you actually realize it totally could be a sequel if you get to the end of it because there's some super Easter egg lore stuff.
Yeah.
But interesting. Okay, I'll have a think about that.
Yeah.
Fucking cool topic. Good work. I like it. I'm really curious what everyone's going to pick now.
My mind's already racing. So.
Yeah, cool.
I'm scared I won't be able to be original enough. I'm scared I won't be able to come up with an original enough idea.
Look, Adrian, I'm here purely just to hear you rag on the game that you hated as the original more than anything.
Yeah.
I'm worried that I'm just going to pitch my game and everyone's just going, Adrian, you've just described Warframe again.
I mean, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead.
I don't want to do that.
No, awesome, cool. All right, well that's one for next week. So Party Game Jam next week should be one to look forward to. Now, last final little note before we wrap up the episode tonight. Regular listeners of the show may have noticed that we've had a fairly regular absentee as of late. So poor Jam, unfortunately, has not been able to join us as much as she'd like to, as she's had quite a bit going on, and it's come to the point where she is actually going to have to step away from the show for a little while. So we are going to, in her absence, be wishing Jam all the best. She will be stepping away from the Party Loader team for an indeterminable amount of time. We may see her back at some point. We don't know what that's going to look like, but in the meantime, she's got some stuff to deal with in IRL. So we're going to wish her all the best, and we will be forging on without her for the time being. But look, I just want to particularly make a note that Jam, of course, has been one of the original crew on the show, been sort of part of everything since the very, very beginning. And, we're coming up to close to the 200 episode mark now, so it's a fairly considerable contribution over that amount of time that she's made. So I'd like to say thank you very much for everything that she's contributed in that portion, and hopefully a chance to do more in the future as well, depending on how things pan out. So, yeah, thanks, Jam. We'll see you back soon when you're able to join us again for all the fun.
We'll miss you, Jam.
Yeah,
Jam, we'll miss you.
That's it. But I guess in her honor, we can maybe have that game jam next week. We can call it the Memorial Game Jam.
It's a Memorial Jam.
Yeah, the Memorial
Jam. That's perfect.
Awesome. All right, well, that's that one to look forward to in 7 days' time. But in the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, particularly to let us know your thoughts or ideas for the Game Jam theme, which Matt has just pitched to us, you can get hold of us at all the usual places. So mail@partyloaded.com. Check us out on Facebook. Just search for Party Loaded. It's on Twitter @PartyLoadedShow. And you can find links to all of our other stuff, our YouTube, Twitch, all that sort of stuff. Just head on down to channelendgame.com and you'll find the rest there, in addition to all of our past episodes and articles and all sorts of fun stuff. So that's it. Plans for this week. You guys playing anything interesting? Anything more that you're going to be tinkering with? Matt, you've been switching up some stuff lately. You more vampire, or have you got something else on the agenda?
I didn't talk about. I didn't talk about playing Overcooked 2.
Ooh.
I might play some more of that with friends. That's a lot of fun, but it's just Overcooked 1. So there's not a whole lot to talk about there.
The end.
Yeah.
The end. I did have a friend. So in return for giving him the wank that was the Glass Masquerade.
You weren't here for that.
You gotta listen to that, Christian.
Dale in
great out of
return
context.
said, "You know what? Here's Dark Souls 3 since you didn't like Ashen, so I might actually boot up and give Dark Souls 3 a try." Potentially on stream, because he's harassing me to do it on stream.
Oh wow!
Yay.
But yeah, I might play that. But I've also been really itching to get into one of my other games, like Spider-Man or Hitman. And I'll choose one of them.
No, Hitman 1, you mean the OG?
No, Hitman 2.
Oh, okay.
The most recent. Yeah,
That's right. 'Cause you
play some
played
more of
through
that.
one before 2 came out, didn't you? I remember you saying that. Yeah. Oh, sweet.
I have no idea what I'm going to play other than Hearthstone. I'm still in a bit of a post-Sekiro haze, so I don't know when I'm going to emerge from that.
Having gone through New Game Plus and finished the game 4 times, I can appreciate the nature of that haze. I think we're going to have to bring you back to the brink at some point.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Adrian, you think you will end up finishing all your Borderlands stuff this week, or you got a bit more content there to go through? What do you think?
Well, I've kind of slowed down the pace on that because I'm only going to be playing with my brother-in-law now.
Yep.
I don't want to get too far ahead of him, so that'll slow right down. When I probably would have finished the pre-sequel already by this week if it hadn't been for that. So I'll stretch it out and enjoy that a bit longer, but it means I don't have to commit as much time to it. So I might even have a look at Hearthstone. I might have a little feel with that. But I said it last week, but I didn't have time. I definitely want to pick up Risk of Rain too.
Oh yeah.
So I'll probably do that this week and give you a little mini report on it next podcast.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, well, I'm going to crack the lid on my game of shame this week, and I'm going to load up Halo Reach, I've decided. So
yes!
Got the Easter long weekend to look forward to, and I want to shoot some more stuff. So, I'm going to give that one a go and see how I progress. And I may, in fact, get through the entire thing between now and next week. You'll have to tune in and find out. So,
the campaign's like 8 hours.
Oh,
so.
I'll smash it then. Holy crap. That's like one evening for me. So, yeah. Sweet. All right. Let's talk about that next week. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks, gentlemen, once again. And we'll see you again for next week's episode in 7 days' time. But for now, good night.
Good night.
Bye.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.